All I ever wanted was to give my son a complete family. But 7 years later, when we finally reunited, Liam had become the deepest divide between Ethan and me. That day, my son called out to him with eager anticipation, but Sophia's face turned pale instantly. She burst into tears and ran away, twisting her ankle in the process. Liam rushed her to the hospital, but he locked Ethan out of the villa, leaving him exposed to the blazing sun. I begged him repeatedly to let the child inside, reminding him of Ethan's sun allergy, but he coldly replied not to use that as an excuse. It wasn't until my son collapsed at the front door, his face turning purple, that I rushed into the hospital like a madwoman. But as the lights in the emergency room flickered on and off, Liam's phone remained unanswered. Feeling abandoned by the world, I finally numbly bowed my head 3 times in front of Grandpa, begging to take the child away from this cold-hearted mansion. But fate's cruelty was far worse than I could have imagined. After 7 years apart, my son, overcome with emotion, called out Didito Liam. My first love, Sophia, turned pale on the spot, burst into tears and ran away, accidentally twisting her ankle. Liam was heartbroken, tears welling up in his eyes. He immediately picked her up and rushed her to the hospital, but the bodyguards locked him out of the villa, ordering him to reflect on his actions for 3 days. I begged him to let my son in. Ethan has severe sun allergy, and the doctor had warned us never to expose him to sunlight. Liam sneered coldly. What sun allergy? I've never heard of such a thing. Don't try to fool me with that nonsense. He deserves punishment for his mistakes. That afternoon, Ethan was exposed to the sun for a long time, and his breathing became labored. I knelt on the ground, begging the bodyguards, please open the door. My son might be in danger. When the iron gate finally opened, Ethan was lying on the ground, his lips turning purple. I rushed him to the hospital in a frenzy, but outside the emergency room, I saw Sophia's latest social media post. Liam is so generous. He twisted his ankle and gave me 2 luxury cars as compensation. I'll forgive you. Later, Grandpa arrived inside, trying to comfort me. Don't be too upset, the child will be fine. I knelt down numbly and bowed my head 3 times. Grandpa, forcing things never ends well. Please let him and Sophia be together. I just want to leave with Ethan. The lights in the emergency room flickered on and off, but Liam's phone remained unanswered. I can't take this anymore. Grandpa was so angry he slammed his cane on the ground, making a loud noise. How could he ignore his own son for a woman? Bring that troublesome child here immediately. The butler hurried down to relay the message. I held the old man's hand and shook my head. This was pointless. If Grandpa's discipline had been effective, Ethan wouldn't have ended up in the operating room. I felt helpless, forcing a smile that didn't reach my eyes. Tears had already dried on my cheeks. Grandpa frowned, clearly disagreeing. Emily, how will you know unless you try? Your relationship with Liam is clearly improving. He's willing to return to the country for you, which means he still cares about you. Listen to Grandpa and give each other another chance. Tears streamed down my face as I closed my eyes in despair. Return to the country for me? How ridiculous. He's clearly doing it for Sophia. 7 years ago, Sophia broke up with him decisively and went abroad to study. He was left alone there, feeling lost during those dark days. Liam was like a lost ship, always hanging out in bars, drowning his sorrows in alcohol. As his fiancée, I stayed by his side to help him through that difficult time. One night after he got drunk, he mistook me for Sophia and spent the night with me. When he woke up, he proposed to me. Under the setting sun, he embraced me, kissed me, placed the engagement ring on my finger, and promised to spend the rest of his life with me. At that moment, I felt happiness was within reach. But on the day of the wedding, Sophia sent a message from abroad, shattering this beautiful illusion. She told him she was pregnant and lying alone in the hospital, filled with fear. Liam's expression changed instantly. He threw the flowers he was holding and turned to leave without hesitation. I grabbed his sleeve, almost begging him, "Don't leave me at the wedding, please. I'll feel so hurt." He coldly pried my fingers off one by one, his face as cold as ice. He left only 3 short, heartless words, "I'm sorry." Then he turned and left decisively. The chapel doors slammed shut. I sat alone on the altar covered in roses until midnight. The assistant brought the news, but he dared not look at me. "Liam, she's already flown to England." I felt a chill run through my limbs, for England was where Sophia had studied. I waited until nightfall, Sophia sent a photo of herself sleeping in bed, as if silently displaying it. She said, "This is mine. No one can take it away." But that very night, the doctor called to tell me I was pregnant. My first thought was to terminate the pregnancy and call off the engagement, but when I was lying on the operating table, Grandpa suddenly burst in with bodyguards. The old man's eyes were filled with tears as he begged me not to give up, pleading for another chance for Liam. He said his grandson had made a mistake, but the child was innocent. Grandpa held my hand, his voice choked with emotion, barely able to speak. "Please, for my sake, give birth to this child. I will make Liam take responsibility." I ultimately did not enter the operating room. It wasn't because I still loved Liam, but because Grandpa had done so much for my family. Back then, my father's company was on the brink of bankruptcy, and it was Grandpa who helped us avoid ruin. For 7 years, I raised Ethan alone, waiting for Liam to return from abroad. Deep down, I had hoped and anticipated that one day Liam would change his mind. Finally, 3 months ago, I received news that Liam was returning to the country. But it turned out he came back only because Sophia was returning, and he decided without hesitation to accompany her. Liam coldly urged me over the phone, fearing Sophia would be hurt. He said Sophia couldn't keep her child, and she couldn't bear others calling me dad. "You must take care of Ethan and prevent him from calling me that." I couldn't help but laugh bitterly. 7 years ago, he abandoned me at the wedding to go abroad with Sophia. 7 years later, because Sophia couldn't bear others calling him dad, even his own son calling him once was no longer allowed. What did Ethan do wrong? He just wanted his father's love so badly. Over the past 7 years, Ethan has always pointed at the photo and asked me, "Mom, when is Dad coming back?" I told him, "Dad is busy with work." But Ethan is smart. He gradually stopped asking. Every time we passed by the kindergarten and saw other children being picked up by their fathers, his eyes would fill with sadness. Until Liam returned, Ethan was so excited he couldn't sleep. He took out the few photos of them together in the album and practiced calling him dad over and over again. Who could have imagined that the father he had longed for over 7 years would almost put him in danger? Meanwhile, Liam was probably gently accompanying Sophia, enjoying their sweet moments together. Looking back now, my expectations at the time were rather ridiculous. 7 years have passed, and Liam has never looked back. That romantic proposal was just me trapped in the emergency room, with the door opening and the doctor walking out with a serious expression. "I'm sorry. We did our best. If you had brought him in half an hour earlier, things might have been different. However, due to prolonged oxygen deprivation caused by an allergic reaction, her heart eventually stopped beating. Please take care of yourselves." I suddenly felt darkness engulf me and fainted. When I came to, I found myself lying in the Johnson family's old mansion. The nanny was crying and shouting outside, "She's awake. Miss Emily has woken up." Grandpa heard the commotion and rushed over, asking me with concern how I was feeling. I frantically looked around. "Where is Ethan? Where is my son?" The room fell silent, and everyone lowered their heads. Grandpa sighed and said, "Emily, we were afraid you would be heartbroken if you saw him. So we arranged for Ethan to be cremated." Those words felt like a sudden blow, leaving me speechless. Tears streamed down my face. Why did you do this?" "Johnson family, you've already taken my son away from me. Isn't that enough? You didn't even let me see him one last time." I sat on the ground, too weak to move. Crying uncontrollably, Grandpa sighed and called the butler to help me up. I felt utterly hopeless. The 7 years I spent married into the Johnson family felt like a cold, bone-chilling nightmare. Liam gave me only one child that night. After abandoning me on our wedding day, he vanished without a trace, never to be seen again. I gave birth to the child alone and excitedly told Liam, who was far away in another country. All I received in return was a cold, hard transfer of 10 million, along with a simple reminder to buy supplements and take care of the child. I asked him with anticipation what name he wanted to give the child. Liam replied coldly, "You decide." At the time, I thought he must be busy. Little did I know that later that night, I saw Sophia's post on social media. In the video, Liam was laughing happily, celebrating his pet cat's birthday. Perhaps from that moment onward, the fate of my son and me was already sealed. In the days that followed, I clung to Ethan's black and white photo. Locking myself in my room, Liam seemed to have returned to the old house. That day, Grandpa was furious in the living room. Liam, how dare you still be entangled with that woman? I told you repeatedly to come back alone. Why didn't you take it seriously? Are you doing this on purpose to make me worry? Liam listened quietly to Grandpa's scolding. But his tone was firm. Grandpa, Sophia gave birth to my child 7 years ago. I have to take responsibility for her. As long as Emily stays home to take care of Ethan and be filial to you, she will always be the lady of the Johnson family. Even if Sophia and I have our own home in the future, we'll move to another villa and have no further contact with Emily. I closed my eyes in despair. Liam, do as you wish. After my fifth plea, Grandpa finally agreed to let me go. Emily, the Johnson family truly owes you for wasting 7 years of your life. He had the butler hand me a set of house keys and a bank card. There are 50 million here, plus a seaside villa. This is Grandpa's heartfelt gift, good child. If there's anything else you desire, just tell Grandpa, and I'll make it happen. I refused these gifts and made one final request. I wanted to visit Ethan's grave. Grandpa nodded in agreement. Just then, the butler entered to inform me that the young master had returned. I turned to leave the study but bumped into Sophia and Liam in the hallway, holding hands and chatting happily. Even though I had grown accustomed to seeing them together, witnessing this scene still made my heart ache. Upon seeing me, Liam immediately grew serious and said, Emily, you weren't at home taking care of Ethan. Why are you here at Grandpa's place saying such things? Don't think that just because Grandpa opposes Sophia coming in. I'll change my mind. Seeing my mocking smile, he angrily grabbed my wrist. What are you laughing at? As long as I'm here, no one will hurt Sophia. I suggest you give up those unrealistic ideas. I coldly shook off his hand, took a step back to create some distance, and glared at him with an icy expression. Liam, you're really making me laugh. Do you think I still care who you're with? Just as I turned to leave, Sophia suddenly bumped into me, let out a yelp and fell to the ground. She knocked over the blue and white porcelain vase on the column, shattering it into pieces that scattered everywhere. Emily, why did you deliberately make me fall? Even if you don't like me, don't embarrass me in front of the Johnson family. Okay, that blue and white porcelain vase must have been very expensive. Grandpa will be furious when he finds out. I stared at her innocent-looking face, and the scene of my son's death flashed through my mind. As anger filled my heart, I noticed the blue and white porcelain shards on the ground. Watch out. Liam quickly pulled Sophia behind him, his arm cut by the shards, blood immediately soaking his clothes. Sophia turned pale with fear, trembling violently as she hid behind him. Emily, what's wrong with you? Liam acted quickly, snatching the vase shards from my hands and staring at me in shock. When he noticed the anger in my eyes, his voice began to tremble. You really want me to die? Blood dripped onto the ground and I suddenly laughed. Liam, Ethan is gone. Liam froze, staring intently into my eyes, as if trying to confirm whether I was telling the truth. However, the next moment, he burst into a sharp laugh. You made up such a lie just to get my attention? I saw Ethan having a great time at the zoo on my way here. Emily, if I had known your acting was so good, why didn't you try your luck in Hollywood and become a big star? How could you say something so heartbreaking? You're not fit to be his mother. Liam's gaze grew colder, filled with disgust. I looked at him in confusion, unable to understand why he was so certain Ethan was at the zoo. On the day Ethan passed away, his ashes were cremated, and Grandpa said the grave site was already prepared. Where on earth did he see Ethan playing at the zoo? Before I could say anything, Grandpa slowly walked out with his cane and asked seriously, what happened? Grandpa, nothing. Liam tried to cover it up instinctively, but unexpectedly, Sophia rushed to Grandpa's side, trembling as she pointed at me and cried, Grandpa, Emily is crazy? She just tried to attack Liam with the broken pieces of the vase. How can such a dangerous person be allowed to stay by your side? Please get her out of here immediately. Grandpa's expression turned grim, clearly displeased. The affairs of the Johnson family are none of your business. Who are you to interfere? Grandpa's words felt like a slap across Sophia's face. She trembled, her face turning pale. She knew Grandpa had never approved of her. Otherwise, as soon as they broke up, Grandpa wouldn't have immediately arranged a suitable marriage for Liam. She unconsciously twisted the edge of her clothes with her slender fingers. Standing there awkwardly, Grandpa's cane suddenly jabbed heavily into Liam's wound, causing him to groan in pain. With such a good wife like Emily, why is he so infatuated with that troublesome woman? What have we Johnson family done to deserve this? Grandpa finished speaking, his beard trembling with anger. He ignored Sophia, turned around, and shouted at me and Liam. "Both of you come in here." When Grandpa announced that he wanted us to divorce, Liam suddenly lifted his head, his eyes fixed on my face like an eagle's. "Emily, what's this new trick of yours?" he sneered, his tone laced with his usual sarcasm. "This is truly frustrating." Grandpa slammed his cane on the coffee table, causing the teaware to clatter loudly. He said to the person in front of him, "You're so irresponsible. Emily has tolerated you for all these years because she has a kind heart. This time, it was Emily who actively asked me to give you both your freedom." Grandpa sighed, waved his hand, and said, "Since you two love each other, I won't be the one to stand in your way." Liam's expression turned serious. He stared intently at me, as if trying to see into my soul. Did Emily really say that? His tone suddenly became intimidating. Could she really be that kind-hearted? For 7 years, he had been certain that I deeply loved him. Even enduring the gossip outside, despite raising the child alone with great effort. And even when he was abroad, I persevered through it all, stubbornly holding on to this marriage, waiting for him to change his mind. He completely didn't believe I would choose to give up. I slowly lowered my head and pushed the divorce agreement toward him. "This is the divorce agreement, sign it?" Liam stared intently at the agreement, his eyes filled with anger. Suddenly, he grabbed the agreement and tore it apart. "What are you doing?" Grandpa stood up in surprise. "I've wasted 7 years of Emily's life. Divorce is simply too unfair to her." Liam's tone was firm. "Even if I'm with Sophia, I'll ensure Emily receives a fair settlement and that her life with Ethan is secure." Liam looked at me, his eyes filled with emotions I couldn't understand. "Grandpa, don't ever mention divorce again." I couldn't help but laugh coldly. "I don't need your help, and I don't want to be an obstacle in your relationship. Liam, just sign it." But Liam still didn't sign the divorce agreement. He took Sophia's hand and left the old house. I went to the cemetery with the person Grandpa had brought. Standing before the small new grave, my heart felt like it was being torn apart. My hands trembled as I gently stroked the innocent photo of my son on the tombstone. Tears streaming down my face. "Ethan, I'm sorry. Mom didn't take care of you properly. Mom was wrong. I'm truly sorry. Emily, why are you here again?" Hearing Liam's angry shout behind me, I turned around and saw him and Sophia holding a dead British shortire, staring at me with a mad look in their eyes. "Emily, were you secretly following us?" "HMPH, you're talking about divorce on the surface, but behind my back, you're still playing these cheap tricks." Liam walked over and grabbed my wrist tightly. His cold gaze swept over the tombstone, filled with disgust. "How long are you going to keep this up? You always said Ethan was important to you. Yet now you're using his photo as a memorial picture just to keep me here." "Emily, what's wrong with you? I suggest you do some good deeds instead. Your performance is getting a bit over the top." I wanted to explain, but remembering how he never believed me before, I closed my mouth again. Those who don't believe me won't believe me no matter what I say. I'm really tired now and don't feel like explaining anymore. "Do whatever you want, Liam. I wish I had never met you." I struggled to break free from his grip and turned to leave decisively. Sophia watched me from the side, her eyes following my back, a hint of displeasure flashing in her eyes, as if she was feeling a bit upset. In an instant, she became gentle and cute, playfully wrapping her arm around Liam's and cooing. "Liam, I think this grave has good feng shui. Why don't we dig it up and use it for our little cat?" "Sure." Liam agreed immediately. How dare she curse my son? Dig up this fake grave right now. The people at the cemetery dared not resist him, but secretly called Grandpa. When Grandpa arrived, the small grave had already been dug up halfway. Loose soil revealed a corner of a children's toy. Grandpa was furious and struck Liam with his cane. "How could you do this? This is your own son's grave. Don't you believe Emily's words? Do you not even believe your own grandfather's words?" Liam took a step back, furrowing his brows, and said, "Grandpa, why are you following Emily's lead? Ethan was clearly living a good life. How could that be? Can't you see the truth?" Grandpa trembled as he pointed at the tombstone and said, "Look at this photo. Look at these toys. What mother would joke about her own child's life? Liam, you're so arrogant. How could I have raised such an ungrateful child like you? If it weren't for you wanting to protect that girl Sophia, why would you have locked Ethan outside the villa to bake in the sun? Ethan wasn't raised by you. You don't care about him. He's always had a sensitivity to UV rays. How could you have known? Emily has already knelt down and begged you, but what about you? You're only thinking about that woman. Such a cute child like Ethan has been ruined by the two of you? Sophia was trembling all over, desperately trying to back away. Despite this, a brief smile flickered across her lips. Liam froze, as if struck by lightning, his body stiffening as he picked up the photo from the ground. The innocent smile on Ethan's face in the photo made his heart ache. Nevertheless, he kept shaking his head. No, this can't be true. It must be a misunderstanding. I saw Ethan playing at the zoo this morning. Did I forget, Grandpa? Tell me all of this is a lie, right? Grandpa avoided her gaze, his face filled with sadness, and finally closed his eyes. Liam, stop making excuses for yourself. Things have already turned out this way. Emily and her son have been deeply hurt. You need to think this through yourself. After saying this, Grandpa left the center of the cemetery. Liam stood frozen in place, the photo in his hands suddenly feeling incredibly heavy. He remembered the day Ethan had smiled and called him Dad, remembered Emily crying there, and remembered his own heartless departure. I just wanted. His voice trembled. How could this happen? Liam felt his mind spinning in chaos in his heart. Everything had been planned. He had intended to give Sophia a home outside and also take care of Emily and her daughter. As long as they didn't cross paths, there wouldn't be any problems. But why had things turned out this way? He had only intended to give Ethan a mild scolding. How had it escalated to this point, even costing him his life? Liam knelt before the half-dug grave, weeping uncontrollably. A heart-wrenching cry shattered the cemetery's tranquility. Liam clung tightly to the shattered tombstone, tears streaming down his face. I'm sorry, Ethan, I didn't mean to. Sophia's eyes flashed with jealousy. But she deliberately acted pitifully and hugged Liam from behind. Liam, please don't do this. She pressed her face against his stiff back, her voice trembling with feigned sobs. I know how much you're suffering now. When our child miscarried, I was heartbroken too, but what's done is done. We have to move forward. We'll have children in the future. Don't worry, if one isn't enough, I can give you 2 more. Is that okay? If this had been before, hearing Sophia say this, Liam would have been overjoyed. But now, her sweet, cloying voice sounded like nails on a chalkboard. Go back first. He forcefully pried her hands away, his voice cold. Sophia immediately grew tense, grabbing his hand and saying, I'll go with you? There's no need, he said, I want to go see Emily. Ethan is gone, and she must be heartbroken. Liam suddenly shook her hand off and jumped into the car without looking back. Even as Sophia chased after him in her high heels, calling out to him, he didn't look back once. When Liam rushed into the old house, I was packing the last item into my suitcase, preparing to leave the Johnson family for good. Emily? He saw me leaving and panicked. He rushed over and grabbed my suitcase, his fingers turning pale from the force. I was wrong. I didn't expect it to turn out like this. A hint of guilt flashed in his eyes, but he helplessly blocked my path. I just wanted to punish Ethan a little. But I didn't expect it to turn out like this. It's all my fault. I was so foolish. I hurt you and your mother. Please don't leave me. Let me go. My voice trembled slightly. Liam seemed to have made up his mind. He clenched his teeth and held me tightly. His body trembled slightly, and his voice also became trembling. Emily, I'm sorry. Please don't go. We can still have children. We can start over, okay? I suppressed the annoyance in my heart and coldly shook off his hand. It's over. From the moment Ethan was locked out of the villa, no matter how much I begged, he didn't respond. I was completely despairing. Liam still held onto me tightly. The anger in my heart burned like a flame, and without hesitation, I struck his wound with all my strength. He winced in pain, his face turning pale, and I kicked him hard in the groin. This time, he couldn't hold back anymore. The divorce agreement is already on the table. Find some time to sign it. From now on, we'll go our separate ways and never see each other again. I didn't look back, but I could feel his gaze fixed on me, his mouth pleading for me to stay. But what's the point? I no longer care about this belated love. Sophia thought that as long as she drove me and my son away, she could marry into the Johnson family smoothly. But she didn't expect Liam to stare at the divorce agreement, frozen in place, refusing to sign. Sophia grew impatient and began to persuade him, Liam, isn't the person you've always loved me, now that you can finally be with me? Why are you hesitating? You and Emily were just a mistake. There was never any real love between you. Let's just part ways. I'll marry you, be your wife with all my heart, and give you children. Will you? Liam struggled internally for a while before finally giving in to Sophia's relentless demands. He signed the divorce agreement with a pale face. Seeing Liam's name written in his own hand, Sophia sighed in relief. Sophia became even more dependent on Liam, always staying by his side. She frequently asked him when they would go to register their marriage and when they would hold the wedding. Liam felt tired and irritable, pinching the bridge of his nose. Let's wait a while longer. Ethan just passed away and I don't want to remarry so soon. Sophia wasn't entirely willing, but she reluctantly agreed, all right, but you have to promise me that you'll accompany me to pick out an engagement ring first. Before they could go to select the ring, Liam was summoned to the study by Grandpa. Do you know why Grandpa opposes your relationship with Sophia? She doesn't truly love you. I gave her 30 million, and she immediately broke up with you? Liam was utterly shocked and refused to believe it. I understand Sophia. Her family situation isn't good. Actually, you used money to make her leave, so why did you give her money voluntarily? Grandpa sneered, because I found out she's a nightclub girl. She's been with so many men. And only you, the fool, were willing to accept her. And the child she miscarried 7 years ago wasn't even yours. Liam felt his whole body stiffen, and his expression became extremely agitated. Impossible, his voice was hoarse. This must be a lie, Grandpa. I knew you didn't like her, but you don't have to frame her like this. Grandpa gave a cold laugh, pulled out a stack of photos, and threw them directly at his face. I hired a private detective to follow her for 3 months. That aborted child wasn't mine. Liam, I raised you from childhood. You should know I wouldn't say something without evidence. Liam's face turned pale, his hands trembling as he picked up the photos one by one. In every photo, the woman was Sophia. The backgrounds included bars, KTV rooms, bedrooms, bathrooms, and various other places. The men changed one after another. But Sophia remained the same. Liam kept looking, his neck veins bulging, desperate to find Sophia and demand an explanation. Grandpa stood up, looking calmly out the window. I thought Ethan's death would make you realize your true feelings and see that woman's true colors. But you're still so stubborn. Then I'll just tell you the truth. Liam, as long as I'm alive, Sophia will never step foot in the Johnson family. After leaving the Johnson family, I bought a glass house in Iceland, here. The summer is always sunny, and the winter is always dark. When the first aurora appeared, I held Ethan's favorite telescope in my arms. Ethan, Mom is here to take you stargazing. My voice was hoarse as I gently stroked Ethan's smiling face in the photo frame, leaving tears on the cold glass. From now on, you won't have to worry about getting sunburned anymore. It's because Mom didn't bring you here sooner. I stared at the stars, unwilling to look away, until Grandpa called. Emily, over the years, the Johnson family has wronged you too much. Come and bring Ethan back so we can reunite. I looked up suddenly, my voice trembling. What did you just say? Ethan died on the operating table long ago? Didn't he? Grandpa smiled slightly and said, I intentionally told the doctor to say that back then, just to test Liam. If you decide not to forgive him, then the test is no longer necessary. Emily, I truly can't bear to part with such a good granddaughter-in-law. I had someone transfer 50 million into your account, and I'll send money every year on time as compensation for Ethan's upbringing. Grandpa told me Ethan's address, and I was so excited I couldn't wait to fly back home to bring Ethan back. Mom, you finally came to pick me up. I thought you didn't want Ethan anymore. When I finally saw Ethan's cute little face, tears streamed down my cheeks. Tears of joy, I hugged him tightly and kissed him, saying, Mom is here. How could I ever abandon Ethan? Actually, Liam wasn't lying that day. He did see Ethan playing at the zoo with his own eyes. Grandpa said it was the nanny he hired who didn't listen. Seeing such a cute little boy crying nonstop, he couldn't bear it and took Ethan to the zoo on his own. Nearly getting caught hearing this, I couldn't help but laugh and cry at the same time. Though I'm deeply grateful for Grandpa's kindness, it really wasn't necessary. Grandpa, thank you for taking care of me all these years. In my heart, you will always be my grandpa. However, I don't want to have anything to do with Liam anymore. From now on, I will raise my son on my own. No matter what, Ethan is still alive, and that's the best news for me. From now on, it will just be the two of us, and we can still live a good life. I never expected that half a year later, on a certain day in Iceland, I would unexpectedly run into Liam again on the street. His eyes were bloodshot and red. When he saw me, he immediately knelt down heavily. Emily, I'm truly sorry. I've been searching for you desperately for the past 6 months. Grandpa kept it a secret and refused to tell me anything about you. I searched every city you mentioned in your social media posts and went through your old updates until I finally found you. I know Ethan is still alive, and I know you didn't marry anyone. Can you give me another chance to make up for my past mistakes? I listened expressionlessly, unconsciously hugging Ethan tighter and taking a step back. Liam, I remember I said I didn't want to see you again. We're like strangers now. Let the past stay in the past. I don't need you to make amends. You have such deep feelings for Sophia. You stayed abroad for 7 years for her, and even I was moved. How could I bear to tear you two apart? Go back. Miss Sophia is waiting for you at home. She must be looking forward to marrying you. Just as I was about to leave, Liam stopped me. Forget about Sophia. Emily, I now truly understand her true nature. She's been deceiving me and using me all along, and she never even carried my child. A few months ago, she tried to poison Grandpa and send him to the hospital. I've already reported her to the police and had her arrested. This relationship is over between us for good. Grandpa is Liam's most important family member. Daring to poison Grandpa means Sophia has crossed Liam's red line. These matters have nothing to do with me. This is all your family's business and has nothing to do with me. Please step aside. But Liam refused to back down, acting like a stubborn fool and refusing to leave. Ever since then, he's been waiting at the gate of my house every day, begging me to change my mind. He even offered to give me half of Johnson Group's shares, just hoping I'd return and continue as the matriarch of the Johnson family. I didn't even consider it and refused immediately. After leaving the Johnson family, I used the $50 million my grandfather gave me as startup capital to start my own company. In just a few years, my company has thrived. I never lacked money back then, and I certainly won't compromise for money now. Liam, what do you think I am? You just show up when you want us and ignore us when you don't. Back then, you heartlessly left me at the wedding and ran off to another country for 7 years. Did you ever think about how I felt? Now you're talking about regret and deep love. Don't you think you're being hypocritical? Liam was left speechless by my words. So I had the bodyguards take him away. After that, Liam came looking for me, but I didn't see him. Before, Ethan used to look at his father's photo often, missing him, but after being locked out of the villa that time, he never mentioned wanting to find his father again. I accidentally saw an essay he wrote, which said from now on, Ethan will only love Mom. 3 months later, Liam came again, telling me Grandpa was very ill and wanted to see me one last time. Thinking of Grandpa, I hesitated but eventually agreed. When Grandpa saw me and Ethan, he excitedly sat up in bed. Good child, I knew you've been thinking about Grandpa all along. He looked at me with a face full of love and anticipation, then softly asked, You and Liam, is it really impossible between you? I nodded and said, I'm sorry. Grandpa sighed softly after hearing this, but soon broke into a gentle smile. Grandpa doesn't blame you, Emily. Actually, it was Liam who wronged you back then. Now that you've chosen not to forgive him, it's understandable. Regardless, Grandpa always regarded you as his own granddaughter in his heart. He hopes that no matter where you are, you'll live a peaceful and smooth life with Ethan. As I was leaving, Liam pulled me into an empty ward. I asked him warily, What do you want? His eyes were filled with passion and determination. He pressed me against the wall and leaned down to kiss me. Emily, I'm sorry. I know I was wrong. After losing you, I realized how deeply I love you. As he spoke, he grabbed my hand and pressed it tightly against his chest. Every day you're gone, it's unbearable here, like I'm being torn apart. I didn't react at first, then suddenly opened my mouth and bit him hard. In his eyes filled with sadness and disbelief, I slowly raised my hand, wiped the blood from the corner of my mouth, and coldly said, Liam, you made me wait 7 years for Ethan. All right, if you're willing to wait 7 years for me, I might consider forgiving you. Liam's eyes lit up. Really, I smiled. Those 7 years were indeed the 7 years I spent with someone else. But on the day, I was wearing my wedding dress, ready to marry someone else. Liam saw this and was deeply shocked, unable to accept it, so he rushed out. From then on, he seemed to have lost his soul, searching everywhere for someone who looked like me. Every girl's face looked like mine, but none of them were me. He lived in a daze every day, spending money recklessly, almost depleting the fortune Grandpa had worked so hard to accumulate. Every night, he drank himself into a stupor at the bar, And when he was drunk, he would talk to my photo, saying, "Emily, I'm so sorry. Did I really lose you forever?" Later, someone said that one time, he was so drunk that he saw a girl who looked a lot like me on the street and chased after her without hesitation. Unfortunately, he was hit by a drunk driver. People talked about it a lot. Some said he died on the spot, while others claimed he became a vegetable, doomed to spend the rest of his life in a hospital bed. But none of that matters to me. Now, Ethan and I live a peaceful and happy life. There's no point in wasting our energy on someone who has nothing to do with us. Liam may never know the truth. That grand wedding was all a sham, a carefully orchestrated fake marriage designed to reject him once and for all.